Not bad. In 30 seconds, you've got yourself a freestanding kitchen. On this setup, we've gone with a 60-litre Elements fridge on top of a full-height ARB drawer, which is being used as our pantry. And when the kitchen is fully set up, you still have access to the fridge. That's the other thing. If you've already got ARB modular drawers, you can replace an existing one with the kitchen or order the complete setup. And for those trips where you don't need the slide kitchen, you can swap out the slide for an accessory drawer to give you more storage space. So next time you're in a rush to get food started and dread having to pull the car apart to pull a table and stove out, you might want to consider the ARB slide kitchen. For more info and a closer look at setups like this, visit your local ARB store.
This is a KitchenAid stand mixer. The Artisan Series 5-quart tilt-head stand mixer, to be exact. It's iconic.
That mid-century design is just, it's sleek, it's beautiful, it's like sensual and its softness, and it hasn't changed in years.
I love those vintage machines. They are just, they're workhorses, they're amazing.
My KitchenAid and I are best friends at this point.
Yes, it is more expensive, but it is the last mixer you will ever buy.
Runaway sensations The Great British Bake Off and Nailed It have gotten millennials pumped about baking, not to mention the pandemic-induced baking boom. But America's love affair with the KitchenAid stand mixer is much deeper than that. The KitchenAid is the go-to for professionals and home cooks alike. From Julia Child, Martha Stewart, and Molly Yeh to America's Test Kitchen and Duff Goldman, it seems everyone uses a KitchenAid. Here's how the KitchenAid mixer took over America's counter space. This is Suddenly Obsessed. All in, the US mixer market brought in just shy of $1 billion in 2020. KitchenAid is responsible for about 28% of that revenue. Whirlpool has sold over 31 million KitchenAid mixers since 2008. Which means it's producing over 2.5 million mixers annually out of its 476,200 square foot facility in Greenville, Ohio. KitchenAid has been helping bakers mix their ingredients for over a century. In 1914, the Hobart Manufacturing Company introduced the model A80, an 80-quart commercial bakery mixing machine. The name KitchenAid was coined by the wife of an executive on the team. In 1919, it created a smaller 5-quart version called the H5, intended for at-home use. But let's just say the design was heavy and clunky. So in 1937, the company hired an outside designer to revamp its mixer. The Model K was born. In 1955, the company introduced 5 colors and became a mainstay in American kitchens. In 1986, Whirlpool Corporation bought KitchenAid for a reported $150 million. That would be over $356 million today. Prices range from $199 for the miniature version, $220 for its base tilt-head model, to over $1,000 for the top-of-the-line bowl lift model.
They are probably the most trustworthy, sturdy machines on the market at that price point.
Throughout the decades, plenty of other stand mixers hit the market. But there are 2 reasons KitchenAid became a household name. First is the way the KitchenAid mixer uses planetary motion to fold in the ingredients. Planetary motion means it runs in 2 orbital operating directions. The head spins one way, and the tool spins the other way. This helps both whip and fold the ingredients. An engineer for the company put this in an email. If you were just to spin the beaters in one direction, you only stirred the mix. The second reason for its lasting appeal is durability. KitchenAid fanatic and repairman Mr. Mixer says with proper care, your KitchenAid can outlive you.
It's a machine. They need to be tended to, taken care of. You know, they're expensive, and to just have them serviced every couple of years is one way to make sure that they run indefinitely. Old Faithful, that's what I would call them, you know. It's a household name like, you know, the Ford pickup.
The average age of a stand mixer in a US household is somewhere between 6 and 10 years old. That's ancient by today's appliance standard. Other than adding new colors, the KitchenAid is essentially the same today as it was in 1969. Even the attachments from those older models fit today's machines. The company replaced one internal metal component with a Kevlar reinforced design in 1997. but even that was met with praise. KitchenAid says the Kevlar reinforced gear is engineered to improve internal durability. Lainey Townsend, who's been fixing mixers for 4 years, says this.
What it does is if you're overloading your motor on your KitchenAid, it will deliberately break, so you save your motor. It doesn't push through like a metal one will.
To say KitchenAid has built a strong fan base is a bit of an understatement.
My relationship with KitchenAid is honestly pretty deep.
She and I are definitely in a committed relationship. My KitchenAid and I are best friends at this point.
I have at least 30, probably closer to 40, but that number is constantly changing.
Dan Valenti, vice president of KitchenAid Small Appliances, says he was taken by surprise by the deep connection people have with the kitchen appliance when he joined the team 7 years ago.
I couldn't understand the passion and just the pure love and joy that consumers get out of the KitchenAid stand mixer. They tattoo the stand mixer to their bodies.
Some folks will even pay to get their mixers custom painted. The long lifespan of a KitchenAid mixer is one reason for that deep emotional connection. The longer a KitchenAid is in someone's home, the more memories are tied to it.
It's one of the more popular hand-me-down gifts. Think of products that you actually desire to have a hand-me-down, a used stand mixer within your family. They pass from generation to generation.
The KitchenAid mixer has also become a sort of rite of passage into adulthood.
I, like most people, grew up with that iconic white KitchenAid on the kitchen counter in my home. To me, it always really symbolized a stepping up or like a leveling up in both like culinary skill and also life goals.
While KitchenAid mixers make great wedding gifts and housewarming presents, many entrepreneurial bakers have built profitable businesses around them. After receiving her KitchenAid as a Christmas gift 5 years ago, Emily Nejad opened a bakery called Bon Vivant Cakes in Chicago.
KitchenAid literally gave me my career. You know, it like set me on a different trajectory. I didn't even know that I wanted to do it. I didn't even know that I was good at it. It gave me the tools to envision a whole new, wonderful life for myself.
After upgrading from a hand mixer to a KitchenAid stand mixer this summer, Lisa Gray was able to expand her baking operation, Little Gray Bakery in New York City.
At this point, I am sold out for my December cookies, so I have 20 to 30 orders per week for the next 3 weeks. So just me and this KitchenAid are making about 300 cookies every 3 days in order to fulfill the amount of orders that I have. She has been getting a major workout. This KitchenAid has been going 24/7, 3 times a day, 3 times a week.
We've had such a boost from just the COVID demand. Small appliances overall typically grows at a couple points per year. So the jump in the category is sizable.
As the pandemic forced us all indoors, folks are turning to homemade baked goods like sourdough bread and cookies for comfort and to kill time. And with millions of recipes and tutorials on YouTube, anyone can bake, regardless of skill.
I'm a self-taught baker. I have no formal training. I went to YouTube University and just taught myself everything that I know. And without that KitchenAid mixer, like that was it. Like that was the whole first step for me.
There are cheaper stand mixers out there, but few, if any, have as a devoted following as KitchenAid. It comes down to one simple thing: great design.
I tell people too, when you buy a KitchenAid, yes, it is more expensive, but it is the last mixer you will ever buy. I tell people to put them in their wills because they will outlive you. You don't want your kids fighting over your mixer.
Indulge in cafe-like coffees at home or your cozy workplace with the Cafito coffee maker from Murphy Richards. A truly distinctive coffee maker that brews espressos, cappuccinos and lattes at the touch of a button. Built with food-grade accessories, it's a barista you can bank on for safe and superior tasting coffees. It also makes brewing your favorite cup incredibly simple. Welcome to the demo of Murphy Richards Cafeto Coffee Maker. Cafeto Coffee Maker comes along with various in-box accessories and multiple coffee filters. For a steaming cup of cappuccino, let's start by detaching the milk reservoir from the Cafeto Coffee Maker. Pour the desired amount of milk in the reservoir. Ensure the milk is at room temperature. Put the lid back on and place the reservoir back on the coffee maker. Next, take out the removable water tank and withdraw the rubber cap from beneath the tank. Use water at room temperature to fill the tank. Cover the tank using the lid and slide it down to ensure it fits tightly. Turn the coffee maker on, and as soon as the lights stop blinking, the coffee maker is ready to use. Meanwhile, let's choose an appropriate coffee filter. Select the double shot filter for a large cup. Place the double shot coffee filter over the portafilter and turn it to ensure it's locked. Spoon in roasted ground coffee and with the help of a tamper scoop, clean excess coffee from the rim. Place the portafilter beneath the brew head and turn it towards the right to align it with the lock symbol. Adjust the frothing tube and the froth control knob to make a frothy cup of cappuccino. Now let's make cappuccino with the press of a button. Press the cappuccino button once for a small cup and twice to brew a large cup of cappuccino. To add more foam, press and hold the cappuccino button for 3 seconds. Delicious cup of cappuccino is ready. Have the joy of making espresso and latte in a matter of minutes. Murphy Richards Cafeto enhances coffee brewing and makes it simple. Cafeto Coffee Maker also offers effortless cleaning. Just remove the drip tray, detach the portafilter and rinse it with water. Turn your home into your favorite coffee place with Murphy Richards Cafeto Coffee Maker. It's simple.
Welcome back to Smoky Ribs. This is episode 2 of my Beginner's Guide series. Today we're going to be focusing on a kettle grill, a Weber kettle to be more precise. I do have a couple of kettles behind me, but it's mainly just to show you a few small differences. Not going to focus a lot on that. We're mainly showing you how to set this up, how to run it, how to get your meats to turn out exactly like you want. We're going to get started right after this. All right, so here are my 2 kettles. The red one is a Weber kettle. The gray one, that is a S&S grills. I've just got that one recently. Now, there are a few differences between these 2 grills. Not going to focus on that today. That's not what this video is about. The video is about setting up a kettle grill, how to dial in your temperatures, and how to have good results. But now with that said, for anyone interested in seeing a side-by-side comparison video, more of a Weber versus S&S, just leave it in the comments and I'll probably schedule that a couple of months out. I've got probably 2 months of things lined up here, so that would have to come later, but just let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. All right, so here is the inside of my Weber kettle. Now it's pretty grungy. This thing is about 3 years old. And I'm going to tell you one of the best tips right off the bat is when you're cooking on this, put you a drip pan down on your bottom grate the best you can to help catch a lot of that grease, because otherwise you get it all gunked up. This isn't real bad. I did scrape it earlier. Got a little ash left in there, but you can expect that. You know, that's just the nature of it. So the reason I have this opened up with everything cleared out, I wanted to show you the dampers. This is your bottom ventilation system, and basically you can open and close this. You can have it completely closed, you can just have it cracked, you can have it wide open. So this kettle grill is going to be dependent on air being pulled in from the bottom. Now here in just a second, I'm going to show you the top vent. This is how you dial in your temperatures. Now if you're wanting to achieve a low and slow cook, I'll get into that, how to set the charcoal up, but you would want to start off with this probably about a quarter of the way open. You're wanting to keep those 250 to 275 degree temps, so you don't want a whole lot of airflow. Now if you want it screaming hot up to around 350, 375, let it go wide open. It's going to need all that air to get those kind of temperatures. All right, now let me show you the upper vent. There again, you can close it, you can crack it, you can go wide open. If you wanted a very hot grill, there again, you would want this wide open, you want the bottom wide open. But this is how you adjust the temperature inside of this pit. There is no knob to set temperature or anything like that. It's strictly done through airflow. Now one thing Weber did, and I don't know why they did that, you always put your vent over the meat, okay, always. And they got the thermometer way over here on the other side. And so the temperature that you're reading with that thermometer is the heat coming right off the charcoal. So you can't really go by that thermometer. It's going to be a lot hotter than what you actually have over here where the meat is. So I would recommend going with a digital type thermometer. You would insert your probes up under the lid, or you can go through your vent holes. You would probe your meat. You'd put one at grate level to really see what's going on inside of this pit. So that's basically it in a nutshell. It's not rocket science, it's very simple. You have to play with your bottom vents and your upper vents to get the temperature that you're looking for. So let's put this into action and let me show you what I'm actually talking about here. Now this is your bottom grate. This one's seen better days, as you can see. And on this Weber, you can expect yours to look just like this after a few years. Now these parts are replaceable. What I'm going with is just a charcoal briquette. You can use a lump charcoal in this, or you can use a charcoal briquette. The lump charcoal is actually made from real wood, and it goes through a process where they remove most of the oxygen while they're burning it, and it becomes very hard. You know, it becomes charcoal. And the good thing about it is it puts off a lot of good heat. It actually burns hotter than the charcoal briquettes, and that's my choice a lot of times. But on this kind of grill, it don't last as long as what the briquettes does, and I'm doing a low and slow with this today, so I want the briquettes in here, and all I want to do is just bank them off to one side. And I'll explain why here momentarily. You can get real fancy with this and really stack these up in a real neat, orderly fashion, or you can just dump them in here like I just did. So I'm just going to take and move some of these around. We don't need it piled up this high. And this is what they refer to as a snake method. And then, like I said, some people, they really do these to where it's just perfect uniform. I don't do that. I don't have time for that. This is all you got to do right here. But you want this to wrap around just like I'm doing here. Some people refer to this as a snake method because it will be lit on one end and it will slowly burn around, catching other coals as it's going, and that's called a snake method. Minion method is also a style of a minion method. All right, so something just like this. I didn't get all fancy with it. Just move them around, try to keep it somewhat uniform. That's looking pretty good right in here. This will work all day long. Now, basically what I'm doing, once I put my grate in here, my fire is gonna start over here, and the food is gonna go over here, just opposite from the fire is. So as this fire moves around, you have to also move your meat, just opposite from it. Now this is what they call indirect cooking. The only time you would cook right over the actual charcoal is for a real hot type of cook, like searing a steak or searing a thin burger or something like that, where you would require some intense heat. For all purposes, primarily you will always want to go indirect, and even if you do go direct, you never want to put a whole layer of charcoal across this bottom. Always leave yourself a safe zone, a cool zone, to where if things get out of hand, you can move your meat over and not burn it to smithereens. So always remember 2-zone cooking. You got your hot, you got your not so hot. So I'm gonna go ahead and light this up. What I've done, these are called tumbleweeds. These are fire starters. There's different types. There's some wax cubes you can get. There's these tumbleweeds. They've got some made out of some sort of other material. And basically that's what gets it started. Let me fire it up. So one thing I want to pay attention to before I do this is the position of my lower vent. I'm gonna go about a quarter of the way. Right in here. Now while this is getting started, you just want to leave your lid off. Give this time to get going good. It's going to start this fire right here in this corner. Once it gets established, from there, like I said, it will start slowly working its way across. If you wonder what I'm doing, this is not about to cook. I'm just doing a chuck roast to make some pulled beef sandwiches with for our supper later tonight. Now, I want to add smoke flavor to this meat, so what I've got here, you can use whatever you like, pecan, hickory. This is post oak. And you put it sporadically. Whereas this catches, it'll also get your wood going to where it starts putting off a really good smoke. Now the chuck roast is a pretty good piece of meat, so I'm gonna go on. Actually, I'm gonna put them close together. You want the bulk of your smoke within the first 3 hours. And we'll put one more back here. That should be plenty of smoke. You don't want to overdo it because you can over smoke meat. But I think this will be just right based on previous experience. So we've been going a few minutes, and as you can see, I'm starting to get a little white ash on the corners. Just a few more minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes tops, all this will be ashed over, and at that point I can close the lid. Now I'm showing you how to set this up for a low and slow cook that takes hours. This chuck roast, I'll probably do an aluminum foil wrap on it to expedite the cook, but even with that, it's probably going to take 4.5 hours to cook. Now, if I was wanting to get this up to 350 to 375, I would not start it like this. What I would do in a case like that is I would take a charcoal chimney and I would fill that all the way up. I would light it at the bottom, and I would get that entire chimney burning. I mean, to where everything's ashed over, and I would dump it into my grill. I would bank it off to one side to where I have my cool zone, my safe zone, and then when you put the lid on, you're going to shoot up real quick in temperature because everything's lit. And it might not be as much charcoal as what you see here. I did this purposely because I know it's going to be a long cook. I don't want to have to add charcoal at the end, so I shouldn't have no problem. This should just slowly burn around, plenty of time. But that's the two different ways you would set this up for charcoal, really depending. If you're doing chicken and you want to go at 350 degrees, then by all means light all your charcoal at one time, throw it in there, bank it off, and then you're up and cooking right away. So for any of you that watched last week's video where I did the live fire cooking, I said in that video that you would be able to see how a lot of what I showed you in that video would transfer over into just about any smoke or kettle. And I was referring to the two-zone cooking, basically. The ventilation obviously is totally different on live fire because you got air surrounding it, you're wide open, and it's a different beast. It has to be treated a little different. But this, when you put it in a kettle and a smoker of any kind, now you're able to trap heat in here, and you can bring temperature up within the whole entire thing at great level, similar to what you do in your oven. This is basically turns into an oven with the ability to apply smoke to your meats. And they all work pretty much the same, and we're going to cover a lot of these. Your drum smokers, bottom vent, top vent. Even electric smokers have a bottom vent and a top vent. Pellet grills, they have ventilation system. Your offset, you have your lower vent and your upper vent. They all do. It's just, that's the nature of it. You have to draft air through in order to fuel your charcoal, the fire, and then from there you make adjustments to get it exactly where you want it. All right, so I'm going good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on this. We're just going to choke this down about 1/3 open. Now, I was saying earlier, you could take a thermometer and you could run a probe under here to monitor your grate temp. I have used this Weber long enough to where I don't need to do that. I know this thing's gonna run around 250, 275 where I had this adjusted at. And so I'm just gonna let this come up the temperature, and while that's happening, I'm gonna take my chuck roast, I'm gonna go ahead and get it prepped up and ready to go on here. Real quick, before I go in there and take care of that meat, I did want to show you one difference between these two kettles. Basically, this is just like a Weber, other than the bottom vent. It has 5 of the blades for the dampers instead of 3 like the Weber does. This has the slow and sear. This is where you put your charcoal. It also has a water reservoir that you can slide in here, and that adds humidity to it. It's an accessory that they sell for the Weber kettle over here, but it also fits this perfectly. It was designed, this kettle was designed around this slow and sear. This is how the company got started. So I don't want to elaborate a whole lot on that, but I will say one thing. I am quickly loving this. I have never seen a kettle grill be able to dial in temperatures as well as this one does and hold. As you can see, most of the charcoal in the corner is ashed over, starting to get some really good heat off that. It's time to put our meat on. This is the chuck roast. I added some Worcestershire sauce for a binder, just rubbed it down on both sides, ends, all the way around. Now the seasoning that I'm using, this is called Chop Shop by PS Seasoning, and let me tell you, this is a fantastic seasoning. Really designed for steak, but it's gonna really kick up this chuck roast. I know it is. Smells incredible. Need to check that one out. All right, one thing I forgot to mention also, when you're setting it up like this, not only are you getting this heat coming over the dome, which is cooking this side and browning and giving this color, you're also picking up some radiant heat from this fire coming in on the side. So from time to time, you'll want to rotate this and flip this. It'll let you know what it needs based on the way it looks, you know, its appearance. Now the slow and sear, the trough I showed you, that the water trough that goes in there, that creates a barrier that stops and kills that radiant heat. So all you're getting then is that convection going over the top. So that's one advantage of that. But there again, this video is not about that. So I'm gonna save that for another video. So here we go. Let's go ahead and put our lid on. All right, I've been going about 2.5 hours. During that time, I have rotated it and I have flipped it, trying to get color on each side. I just checked it with the instant read thermometer. I'm at like 135, but I want to show you real quick what we're looking like. At about 160, that's when I'm gonna pull it off, wrap it in foil, then put it back on here to finish off. Let me show you real quick. All right, now I have flipped this one time and I have rotated a couple of times, just rotating it around to where all the edges darken up at the same rate because of that radiant heat I was talking about earlier. We're gonna let it go on this side some. Now once I get this dark mahogany color all the way around, and that should be around 160 degrees internal when I get there. Right now I'm at 139, so that's about 20 degrees away. Let's go ahead and close it up. If you're looking, you ain't cooking. Oh yeah, that's getting a really nice color on it. Look at that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap. Last time I checked this, it was like 155 internal, and I'm sure we're around 160. I could check it, but I'm not going by that so much as I am the color of it. I mean, look at the back side of it there. That's just gorgeous. Perfect time to wrap. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this and wrap it. We're gonna put it right back on here, put the cover on it, just let it go until it probes tender. Probably another hour to hour and a half, I would guess. All right, so we have been going 5 hours exactly, and I've had it wrapped now for like the last 2 hours, I think it's been, something like that. And I've just been probing, and I am probing around 212, but what I'm really noticing is just how tender this is. Look at that, man, just goes through like nobody's business. All right, this is done, it's ready. All I'm gonna do is bring it indoors, let it rest for maybe 30 minutes. Then from there, I'm gonna shred it. Now I'll inject some clips into this to where you can see just how well this turned out. And hopefully we got a nice smoke ring. And all we're gonna do with this, we're just gonna shred it up, maybe add some barbecue sauce and make sandwiches out of it. Won't be no taste test because this is not about the recipe or about what I'm cooking, but I do have to show you cooking with it to where you can see firsthand just how well the Weber kettle works. And I showed you how to lay the charcoal in there for this style of cook, a low and slow. So hopefully you got something from this. If you're a beginner and you're taking an interest in grilling and barbecue and smoking meats, then hopefully this is giving you enough information to where you feel confident to go get you a brisket, even try that. If you can fit a brisket on there, then you can do it the same way. Now, keep in mind, a lot more mass of meat, it's gonna take a lot longer to cook, but this is exactly how you do it. Now, you might have to add charcoal 2 or 3 times too. This would not be enough charcoal to do a whole pack of brisket. But with that said, you can do it. So I hope y'all are enjoying this series so far. Next week, I've got a special guest gonna be helping me out, and we're gonna talk all about pellet grills. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Until next time, smoke your ribs.
You can now bake amazing cakes and grill some juicy chicken tikkas with Murphy Richards 52RCSS. The Murphy Richards 52RCSS OTG is a multi-purpose oven which aids in effortless cooking and fulfilling all your cravings. Welcome to the demo of Murphy Richards 52RCSS OTG. Its stainless steel body assures better functioning and higher durability. The mirror door adds in the touch of elegance. Its large capacity of 52 liters makes this a perfect fit in your kitchen. The 52RCSS OTG comes with wide array of accessories. It comes along with a baking tray and removable crumb tray, a wire rack, a rotisserie set for a great tandoori chicken. There is a special rotisserie tong, a kebab rod set. It comes along with 2 tongs bundled inside. The front panel of the OTG houses 3 knobs: temperature control knob, function select knob, and the timer knob. The temperature control knob aids in setting desired temperature controls. Function select knob helps you in selecting the desired cooking mode. Defrosting to baking is just a turn away. Set the desired time and you're all set for a delicious treat. Defrosting is easier than ever. Select the defrost function using the function select knob. Place the frozen fish on the baking tray. Turn on the timer knob and it's done. For hassle-free broiling, switch the OTG to broiling mode. Place the bread and cheese on the baking tray. Set the temperature and time, and you are good to go. The toast function is used for light cooking. Toast some bread with a dollop of butter on top. Put an end to your craving with piping hot pizza and gooey cupcakes. Switch the OTG to bake mode. Place the pizza on the baking tray. Set the temperature and time, and the delicious pizza is ready. The rotisserie function is perfect mode to set you for a party. Place the chicken on the rotisserie rod. Put it inside the oven. Switch to rotisserie mode, set the temperature and timer. Grilled chicken tandoori is ready to eat. Use the rotisserie tong to remove the chicken out of the oven. Have the joy of making lip-smacking kebabs in a matter of minutes. Place the kebabs on the skewers, insert the skewer from one end and lock it from behind. The rotating kebab rod cooks food evenly, making it more tender and juicy. There is a convection fan inside for proper heat circulation. With its large capacity of 52 litre and 2 years of warranty, this OTG is surely going to be a long-lasting member in your kitchen. The Murphy Richards 52RCSS OTG will surely help in effortless cooking and is bound to make your baking journey delightful and simple.
flavored candy. The design will have 3 different colors: white, black, and green. There will be a very beloved animal inside of our candy today. The animal's color has 2 colors, black and white. I guess you can already take a guess of what we're gonna make today. So now I'm mixing the white color, which is gonna be the face of the panda and also the background of the candy. The green is gonna be the wrap of the candy. Since pandas like bamboo a lot, we figured let's make the candy outside green to resemble the bamboo's color. We put in some of the candies inside a frying pan. The reason for that is that it's easier to control when we have many different colors. So now I'm about to put in the malic acid into our black part. It's the kind of acid that we put into a non-citrus flavor to make the flavor more robust. So guava is kind of a, I would say, sweet flavor, but we still have to put quite a bit of the malic acid. So now I'm gonna pour it out. The candy is still very, very liquidy. That means it's still extremely hot. It's about 180 Fahrenheit, which is still too hot for us to make any shape with it yet. So we're gonna leave it there to cool down a little bit more. This big piece is also cooling down, so we're gonna check whether it's ready for us to pour in the acid. We don't want to pour in the acid too early, then otherwise it's gonna burn the candies, make the candies color a bit yellow. So the temperature is about right, so I'm gonna pour in all the rest of my malic acid into the mixture. Now let's mix it in. As you can see, the edge of the candy has already been cooling down. It makes us easier to separate this really quick. Gotta be accurate. So later on, I'm gonna stretch this big yellowish mixture. We're gonna make this shiny and white by using a technique we call the sugar pulling. So what she's doing right now is she's cooling down the candy with her hands, folding them to make sure that they have even temperature all around. But as you can see, it's no longer that soft compared to earlier. So the candy mixture, even right now, is extremely hot. How do I know? I learned that the hard way. Look at my battle scars. You will be very surprised that we are actually working with something extremely dangerous and extremely hot. Right now, I'm stretching this big piece on the hook. What I'm doing is called the sugar pulling, candy stretching, many different names. But basically what I'm doing is folding air into the candy. So it will reflect more light. These tiny air bubbles also helps when the final product, the little candy that we make, it makes them very, very crunchy. What I'm pulling is about 6 kilograms of sugar. I have to keep on coating this at a steady speed. This is truly quite a workout. And a few more stretch. We're almost there. At the end, this big piece is becoming harder and harder to pull because it has been cooled down a little bit. That's why we have to really do it fast when we get the chance. And we're done. Now it's all white and shiny, and it's so fluffy. This is gonna be our panda. You may ask, why wouldn't we use the hook again? Because the candy is too small for the hook. It will cool down too fast. That's why I should just do it by hand on the table while I'm still warming the candy. This requires a lot of physical strength as well. And I'm just happy to take a break from it. You may notice the black is no longer very dark. It became kind of a silverish gray. But don't worry, the final result, it will stay very dark and black. So now we're gonna start to make the panda. I will start to make his eyes first. So I cut it a little piece of white. Let's get a little piece of the black to be his eyeball. You may ask, why we're only making one eye when a real panda has two eyes? Well, in candy making world, we try to make things that are identical only once. So later on, you're gonna see how we're gonna turn this one eye into two eyes. Make the piece, I'm applying a little bit water on it, and then we're gonna put in the middle eyeballs right in the middle. And let's wrap the black with our panda's eye white, and then we're gonna roll it out once again. Okay. So I'm gonna take this black piece right here and try to make the panda's most important symbol on his face, which is his lovely eyeshadow. So now we're gonna make this one bigger, so we're gonna be able to wrap the eyes just like we just made. So as you can see earlier, we were sticking two pieces of candies by applying a little bit of water. Water is really like a super glue when we make candies. They help two pieces of candy that are a bit cold to stick together. When the candy is pretty hot, they just stick on its own. So now we already made one eye for the panda, and we're gonna turn that one eye into two eyes. It's actually very simple. When we make candies, when we had something that need to be identical but we need multiple pieces out of it, we just simply stretch it and then cut it into the quantity that we want. In this case, we're gonna separate the one eye into two eyes. And now I'm gonna cut this piece. So as you can see, we've already finished our two eyes of the panda, or from the other side. For the nose, it's gonna be a little triangle downwards. See? The mouth is gonna be a two half round circle with a little black outlines on them. Like I said earlier, we're just gonna make once and then cut that piece in half. We have our pandas inside all assembled. You may not see the entire panda yet, but soon. Now we'll just make his face fatter. Its face is nearly complete. We're just gonna make another outline of black to draw his face. And we have to remember to leave some black to make the ear. Its big round face.